What's going on, guys? Fires51 here, and I know it's been a long time. In fact, I'm not even quite sure how long it's been, but went out garage sale shopping today, and what can I say? I gotta make a video and brag. So, well, the first garage sale I went to, I shouldn't say the first one that I went to, but the first one found any kind of games at was about the third one, and you always gotta ask for video games. You got any video games? Any old games? Because if I didn't, wouldn't have this great deal. And they said, like, oh yeah, we got some, well, first off, how old games are you talking about? I'm like, well, I'll go back as old as an Atari. So, anything you got's good. And of course they said they had a Super Nintendo. I'm like, oh, that's great. They asked me, like, why I was interested. I'm like, oh, I got to relive old memories, whatever. They're not, basically I don't want to, give them the wrong impression. I'm trying to look for something that's really valuable. I just collect just because I enjoy collecting. It's not that I'm trying to make any money off of it. So, I'm trying to let them know I'm not going to rip them off. At least in the sense that I'm not going to turn around and sell it again. So, when they mentioned Super Nintendo, I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. I have a Super Nintendo at home, but I'm missing a controller. So, it's like, oh, you'd be interested? I'm like, yeah, Of course, it's always downstairs in the basement. So I left there. While they went to go get their Super Nintendo, I went actually to another garage sale and came back. And they brought up their Super Nintendo, and I went through the games, and there's definitely some good games. So, and then they just brought out the console and none of the cords. So, I fiddled around with we figured out the price, and then I mentioned I have the cords at home, but it'd be great if I had the power adapter because I don't have the official one. So it took a little while, but then they brought it up. So let me show you what I actually got here instead of BSing. So let me show you the Nintendo. It's actually in pretty decent shape. I mean, it's got a little bit of sticker, but overall, it's actually in really clean condition for the most part. I'm be able to get this nice and cleaned up, and it'll be good as new. I already have one to begin with, so doesn't hurt to have a second one. And we got two controllers because I was not shitting them. I did not have any controllers to my Super Nintendo that I've had for at least 3 years. I've had it, if not 4, at least 3 years. No controller for it, and I don't want to buy one of those remake ones, so I just had a hard time trying to find a controller or a Super Nintendo that's worth, the cost of buying one. They always have them so high cost. So, and then, fucking cords. I did get the official brick and the AV cable, so got all of it, so that was freaking pretty awesome. And I passed up on maybe 2 or 3 games, like sports titles or duplicates of what they actually owned. But I picked up Super Mario Kart. Let's see if I can get that in better for you. It's actually in pretty good condition. A little dirty. Donkey Kong Country 2, which had the stripe on it, like the security barcode, but whatever. And the Super Mario All Stars, which I got the Super Nintendo and the 3 NES games for $10. I just kind of threw it out there when she brought the Nintendo. I picked out some games, and it's like, would you take $10 for it? And she said I was kind of hesitated about it, but then she agreed to it. So hell of a deal, I think. For $10, I'd pay $10 just for the Nintendo, and I think that would be a great deal. Let alone the games they throw into it too. So on to the next story. The next game, or next place I went to and I got some games from. Again, I had to ask, for the video games if they had any, and he had N64, so I was like, yeah, I'd be interested. So he brought this little plastic Tupperware container of it, and I go through it, and got a little stack of games here. And there's two that I passed up on. One was Cruising USA, not much into racing. Although I think that's probably one of the better racing titles I think that the console had. And I passed up on GoldenEye 007. I mean, I got my copy from BitHead 1000, so that's good enough for me. But he didn't want to get rid of these games. He was kind of hesitant. He brought them out, and I was like, well, how much you want for the games? And then he was like, I didn't even think about that. Like, he brought the games out to me to look at, to spy, and he had zero idea of like how much he would want to sell them for. It was almost like he was kind of hesitant once he brought them out, because I started going through the titles, and he started, like, I guess, realizing what he had, and he almost didn't want to sell it after that point. So I wasn't, pressuring him by any means. I was like, they're your games, so if you don't want to sell them. Specifically one title he was kind of hesitant to release. And the funny thing was, like, his daughter, his, like, maybe 4 or 5-year-old daughter, when I asked about how much to sell the games, he was, like, real hesitant about it. She was, like, helping me out so much, because she was like, Daddy, sell them for $1. I'm like, fuck yeah, $1. But he was like, oh no, they're worth more than that. And I'm like, oh, we're going to come to this. And then he was like, sell it for $2, Daddy. And, like, good fucking deal. She's like, no, it's worth more than that. So he ended up throwing out $20. And I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, I can do it. Because he almost didn't sell it to me at all for one game, and it was the one game I really, really wanted. And actually, it's not a bad deal, honestly. But I got Diddy Kong Racing, which is in pretty good condition. They got some white marking around the edges of it, so I'm not quite sure if that's just dirt, some kind of residue, because most of the games have it, or if it's actually just the permanent marking. I'm not quite sure. Then we got Star Wars Shadow of the Empire. I have no idea about this game, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty good. I thought it was worthwhile. This one's the most beat up of them all. I got Super Mario 64, which honestly I don't have yet, which is kind of ironic, I think. I mean, you think that'd be the most common one out there, but I haven't got it yet. Then again, I don't have many 64 games to begin with. Star Fox 64, which I do have, but I'm pretty sure the copy I have is really banged up and bad. And if anything, this would be a good game to have to give out to somebody as a gift, or as a friend. And then the one that he really, really didn't want to hand over, but I was like, I was gonna let him have it and buy the rest of the games, honestly, if it really meant that much to him, because I don't want to prize him from his childhood memories, because I have the same feelings about my old video games that I had. But he was like, I don't play it. Like, he probably didn't even think about it. He owned it for so long, so he did fork it over to me. But that was Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, which is a great fucking deal. So I got all 5 games for $20. So $4 a game, not too bad of a price considering some of the titles here. I mean, some of the titles are Empire Strikes Back for $4. That's probably an okay deal. The rest of them, well worth the $4. So I just had to come on and explain my amazing garage sale day I had. And it wasn't like I went through like 30 garage sales either. I probably went to like maybe 15 or so. It was at 3 locations, because it was like, the subdivisions that had multiple, multiple garage sales at. And some of these places only had like 5 or 6 things just hanging on their garage. Like, they see everybody else selling shit, so they try to sell like 1 or 2 things. Hell, one guy was trying to sell a freaking sauna. Like, the whole freaking sauna, the dry sauna he had in his garage, he was trying to sell. He said popped the garage open and set a couple things out, and it's like trying to sell a freaking brand new dry sauna. So you never know what you're going to find in a garage sale. But I do have a tip for you guys real quick here. And this is how I got my games. And I know people are like complaining about like garage sales aren't that great anymore, but a little secret here. So a couple years ago, it was more the older people, like the moms, like the older moms who had their kids' old video games that they were selling because they were left in the house. I'm telling you right now, if you want to get fucking video games, you go to all the garage sales that list a whole bunch of baby clothes. Now hear me out. The people who I got these games from all had little kids. And every single garage sale I bought this from, I was buying it from not the parents, but the people themselves who played them as a kid. I mean, let's face it. I mean, if you're as old as I am, our generation, we're having kids. We're not playing our video games anymore. They're buried away in the back of the shelf somewhere, or in the garage. So, if you see baby clothes out, more likely it's someone who's going to be our generation who's grown up on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64. So, they are the prime suspects to ask for video games because you know they have them. You know they have them. And this, you get a good deal from them because most of them, they probably forgot about it. It's buried away. They're going to sell it for cheap. They don't even think about it. They don't even have it outside. So go to the ones that no one goes to. No shark is going to the baby store with all the freaking baby onesies and twosies and bullshit. No. So that's my tip for you guys, and maybe I'll see you later on this summer.